Welcome to Ife and OKEY'S Love
Channel.
Channel.
We are here to enlighten lives and uplift souls with our love story.
Because God is love and love is God. So when you have love, you have God. So today we're going to be telling the story on how God led us to each other. And I am Mr. Okechukwu Maduanusi.
And I am Ifeoluwa Maduanusi.
I'm an actor and also the founder and the CEO of Arts Universe Studios.
And I'm a tech consultant and also the founder and CEO of Ife City.
I'll start off by telling the whole story, how God led me to my divine precious wife. Honestly, I will tell you, love, I don't think I could do this with anybody else if not you. And I'm happy with this journey. We're going through this journey with you because it's a journey. This is a journey of no return, and it's a journey that has no ending, honestly. So it kicked off in the year 2022 when I started an online platform where I talked about love, and I earned the title Dr. Love because I have people all over the world connecting to that platform. So I was addressed as Dr. Love and I took up that name. So people will always come around and we had deep discussions about love, relationship and communication, effective communication, which I normally say effective communication is the lubricant of great relationship. And I normally tell people not to settle for less in life. I had people come online, share their testimony and their stories about love, their experiences about love as well. And the little I knew, I shared some advices to them as well. So the show ran from June to August. It ran all throughout last year. It's still on though. The show is still on, but August was when this lady from Canada started coming to the show. I had people from United States, Canada, and some part of Europe as well, Switzerland. I had a lot of people come to the show. So this lady from Canada was on the show, and I was talking about family love, parental love, and so on and so forth. And it's got our interest, so because I normally bring people up to the panel. I don't just talk on the show alone. All I have is a platform. So people come to the platform to share their experiences and teach others and be taught as well. So I was there teaching and also I was taught. So I normally bring people up on the panel, people who really have like good contributions to the discussion on each day to come up on the panel and enlighten the rest of us. So this lady from Canada, she started coming on August. So I love the contribution she normally brings to every topic that we raised. So because of that, I always bring her up on the panel. Because on the show as well, we raise funds to help people's businesses, support businesses and the rest, which we had a lot of beneficiary to that as well. So on that very day, we were talking about connection, the importance of connection, connecting with the rest of the world through social media. And like I normally say that your network is your net worth. No man is an island. We need each other to survive and flourish. But that doesn't mean you would just connect with anyhow person in your life. That's why I keep telling people, be mindful of the people you allow in your space. Know when to cut off people. Know the right people to also invite in your space. So that very day we're talking about connection, and I wanted to be practical because on the platform we don't just it's not just where we gather around and talk about things. No, we do. Yeah, we are doers as well. So we put our works into practice on the platform. So when we were done talking about connection and your network being your net worth, I wanted to be practical about it, and also having that very last year, that's 2022, that my younger sister relocated to Canada to further higher education. So I remember I asked everyone on the platform that very day to identify themselves, what they do, and their place of residence. So everybody mentioned their countries, and so I was like, if you're from any of this country, you're here live on this program, this is the time for you to connect. So when everybody was doing their connection as well, I had to do my own connection as well. That's why I tell people that, you know, the scripture that says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul, is not all about wealth. You, the preacher man, you, the leader, because I believe in servant leadership, not just being a leader. You have to be a servant leader because that's what God taught us. We're Christians and we live our life based on being Christ-like. When people ask, what would Jesus do? So whatever Jesus will do is what we will do. So people connected that very day on my platform, and this particular lady, a lot of people said they live in Canada, a lot of people, but something just led me to her. So I was like, oh, you live in Canada, I would love to connect with you because of my sister, my younger sister, who just relocated to Canada, so that you guys could be in communication. So really knows the country very well. So I was like, I would love you to take my sister around, like keep her up to date, tell her the things she's ought to know, and you know. So she was like, cool, but the city that my sister was in was a different city from hers. So she's like, her younger sister. You see the younger sister thing is now going on here. That's the Lord speaking to somebody. But the Lord is faithful. Because why I said the Lord is faithful, I remember that last year I had a table discussion with my friends, and I told them something. I said that I could hear the Lord telling me that I'll be married last year. See what my friends disagreed with. They said, who is the girl? That was the question. They said, who is the girl? And I said, I've not met her yet. But the Spirit of God, I wouldn't say something in me, the Spirit of God, we are being very specific. Because the Lord speaks, like we said, we'll still make a video or a full video on how God speaks to us and how we hear from God. So God spoke to me specifically, so loud and clear, crystal clear, that I'm going to be getting married last year, but I've not found the girl. So on that round table, my friends were like, how are you going to get married when we've not seen the girl? At least courtship should like last for like 6 months and all that. And people they all gave their reasons, which was valid. But early, I heard that 2021 is one thing to hear from God. That's faith. So I heard from God. When you hear from God, you apply faith. Oh, I've heard this. So with faith, I believe it. But what is faith without work? So I put it to work. So 2022, I started searching for a wife. 2022. So I found someone earlier 2022 who I thought was the person, because the Lord said I'll be married 2022. That's why, yes, as a human being, you have to put in effort, but we can't help God. But at least put in effort, because it's in that process of putting the effort, doing the work, it will align with what God has prepared. God has prepared something ahead of you. You have to move forward to meet it. You have to move forward to receive it, to grab it. God can put something ahead of you and you sit down where you are and expect it to come to you. God doesn't work that way. That is why I tell people, when you have faith, you have to put in the work. So 2022, I moved with faith, saying that it's not as if I don't have female friends or female friends in my life as of that time. I heard the Lord telling me that I'll get married to. I had them, but I looked around. I tell people, always keep the opposite gender as friends. Keep a lot of them as friends, because it's amongst your friends you will finally pick a life partner. But it mustn't be that way. It's not 100% guaranteed that way, because God works in mysterious ways. His ways are far, far above our ways, and you can't know Him all. Anybody that tells you that they know God all is a liar. That's the truth. We can't know Him all. You know, we keep growing and we keep knowing Him. And that's why He teaches us. So we go through the process of learning and unlearning. So in 2022, I moved with a step of faith. I found a girl. We went on a couple of dates, had pure, solid, because I never believed in girlfriend, boyfriend. It doesn't mean it's not right. I'm not saying it's not right or it's not wrong, because, like I said, you have to keep opposite sex as friends. So you could choose from and know who is who, and who, okay, probably some will be for business, your business, for business sake, some for companionship, some for discussion, some for wisdom, words of wisdom, advice, and so on and so forth. You could even have buddies that you hang out with. It's valid, they're all valid. But what I'm saying is, every relationship should have a purpose. So when I met this girl in 2022, I was direct with her. I told her that I want this relationship to, the future, the plans I have for our relationship is marriage. Do you believe in marriage? What is your concept of marriage? What is your concept of children, raising kids? How many kids do you think you can deal with? What's your prospect about finance? So I told her everything, like, this is my plan. So this relationship, I want it to go to marriage. But it's not guaranteed that it should be you, or you are going to get married to me, I'm going to get married. But I just want you to know the perspective I have for the relationship. So we were cool buddies, but it happened that our beliefs varied. At the point in the relationship, that is why communication, I keep saying it, is the lubricant of an effective relationship. We had intense communication. There is no topic we didn't talk about. We unfolded it all. We talked about it, no matter how uncomfortable and sensitive that area of conversation was. We talked about it. And that was when, at the long run, she told me something about her belief that contradicted my belief, and I saw that that was going to be a challenge or a problem in the future. And I tell people, don't expect people to change. You're meeting people after they've lived 20 years of their life here on earth, and you expect them to change like that. They might change, but also know that change is constant. Just like the Bible says, train up a child in the way that he will go. When he grows, he will never depart from it. So you wouldn't just expect people to change, though with God all things are possible. But don't heap yourself some burdens that you cannot bear. Yeah, so carry the cross of Christ. If it's not the cross of Christ, what I mean, if the person is not who the Lord is leading you, confirm it, not just your heart telling you. Let the Spirit, that's why I said nothing. People who say something told me, I felt, no, me, I'm being specific. The Spirit of God speaks to me, speaks to every one of us. If you're a Christian, if you've accepted Him, He speaks to every one of us. So confirm that this is the Spirit leading you, and He will make every crooked way straight for you. It will make it easy for you, because He bears our burden as well. So at the long run, I noticed that belief system is not going to work between me and her. So I called it off. Then back to when the lady that I met on the platform, she's from Canada, so I connected with her outside the platform. So I was like, I would love you to put my sister through a lot of things. And we exchanged contact and we started talking because of my sister. Then she said that she's not in the same city with my sister, but her younger sister lived in the city where my younger sister is presently living. So she said it's better she connects me with her younger sister. I said, okay, no problem. Why not come on the platform and let's connect your younger sister with my younger sister? Since your younger sister knows more about the city than my younger sister is in Canada presently. She said, no problem. So that very day, I dedicated my whole online show that very day, Dr. Love, for connecting my younger sister with her younger sister. So when the show was on, she came on, she invited her younger sister. Her younger sister came on the show, and I invited my younger sister, she came on the show. So I told my younger sister to meet A's younger sister, which is currently my wife. So, so they did the connection that very day. So I was not even involved in it. I didn't even see myself in the whole connecting thing. My own was, my sister felt lonely in Canada. You know how lonely Canada can be. They said, okay, the connection was made. So we moved on that very day to the topic of the day on my platform, which was how God speaks to us through dreams, and if dreams could be manipulated. So the topic got very interesting that my wife, Ife, joined in the discussion. But what caught my attention is people always bring up their own perspective and their own ideas and their own stories. But at the end of the day, being that is my platform, is my show, I normally conclude the matter. But that very day, she argued a point, which is that the devil can manipulate dreams. But she said no, that the devil cannot manipulate dream. So that became another topic of discussion on that platform that very day. But our reasons were very valid and came from a different angle of thoughts that caught my attention. I was like, who is this lady? And she came with some spiritual experiences, Bible references and all that. I was like, oh, she's a Christian. And not just being a Christian, she knows the Lord. This lady knows the Lord. I reached out to her, so I was like, I love your contributions to the show. I really do love your contributions to the show. And I've been looking for someone to run the show with. So if you don't mind, I made a proposal. If you don't mind, you could always come around. I don't know how your schedule is, so we could run the show together. Or if your schedule is tight, we could just pick up some few days that I could introduce you and you come there, share some of your wisdom with my viewers. And she said, no problem, she'll get back to me. So she checked her calendar and got back to me. On the show, on the Dr. Love show, people normally come up on the box and they share their experiences and I give them the little wisdom I have concerning their situation. But believe you me, we had a lot of testimonies because it helped. So, but that very day, this lady and this guy, they brought their relationship up like how they were having challenges in the relationship because they wanted to get married, but this and this happened and that happened. You know, normal relationship crisis. And I was judging the case this way. And everybody on the platform, we had a reasonable number of people on the platform that very day, and they were all judging the case this way. Funny enough, Ife came in and she judged the case this way. I was like, damn, how come I didn't even think it that way? That did not just catch my attention, that grabbed my attention. So when that show was over that day, and we made amends to two of them. Anyway, unfortunately for them, they had to split up. And they also confirmed that it couldn't work between the two of them. So the earlier the better. Like they said that a failed relationship is better than a failed marriage. So the earlier the better. But we save them a future crisis. Imagine kids being born into such a condition. It would have been terrible for those kids and for them themselves. They would have lived their life, the rest of their life in regrets if that had happened. But thank God for her. So her wisdom, we navigated towards her wisdom and we got to a very positive end of that relationship that day. So the show was over. I said, no. This wisdom, I want to be part of this wisdom. Because I've always thought on that platform. And honestly, there's one prayer I pray before I go on that platform. Whenever I open any show, I pray, I say, God, speak to me and speak through me. But that very day she came to the show, I felt God speaking to me through her. So that's a prayer answered. Because I'm like, God, I'm not just on this show to be drained, to talk to people, to pour into people. I also want to be poured into. Honestly, people have poured into me from the show one way or the other, like the audience. But hers was different. I felt the hand of God and the voice of God spoke through her. She thought she was resolving the crisis on that very relationship, but she didn't know that indirectly God was speaking through her to me. So when that show was over that very day, I reached out to her, and I told her that I just don't want her to be a participant in the show. I want to run the show with her. And she agreed to it. So we did the first show. Remember we created the flyer, publicized it, and boom, the turn up was mad. Because we're like, wow, Dr. Love is hosting a show with a lady. So people came, the turn up was huge. And believe you me, she wowed me. It exceeded my expectation. We hosted the show and it was a success. And after the wisdom I heard from her that very day, the topic on that day was self-love and self-awareness. She talked deeply on self-awareness and self-love based on her own personal experiences. So I reached out to her and I said, outside the platform, I want us to be friends. I want us to talk more outside the platform. So later she gave me a number.
So I gave him a temporary number. So just in case that, he turns out to be a weirdo, and which I didn't think, but just in case. So I gave him that number, and then what happened?
Okay, so I remember that that number, we started chatting from that number, but that number was so, like before I would text, before she could receive the messages, it was taking forever. So I reached out to her again. I'm like, do you have another number? I'm a very direct person. I told her that what I want more than friendship, I want to see where this friendship is going to lead to. I don't just want friendship, I want more than friendship. So people being specific is a key. This beating around the bush. Because if you don't try, how will you know it won't work if you don't try? So I told her my heart. I love the way you reason. I love your level of understanding in some few cases that you've been in the platform. The way you handled some of our discussions and your contribution to most of the discussion, I love it. And I would love us to be more than friends. Let's be more than friends. Let's talk more. I think I need you to point to me in as much as I need to point to you. Because there's a discussion that was still pending, that dream discussion. I still left it because I'm like, I still have to talk to her personally about that dream discussion. Because it will be on the platform and we debated it, but we didn't land somewhere. So I kept that one pending.
You didn't tell me one episode wasn't friends yet. You said you just wanted to be friends because you think that we can learn from each other.
Okay, that was what I said. Okay, right. So finally she gave me her permanent number. So we got talking. So the talking got serious. So outside being my sister's friend now, we're now friends. So we got talking. So the talking got deep and deeper and deeper and deeper. I'm like, damn. I've never, honestly, I confess that I've never had discussion with people that got this interesting. Like every day I look forward to more topics that we could discuss. When you and someone is on the same page of reasoning, but yet on a different realm, because she sees it from a different perspective that I've always seen it from. So we're on the same path, we're on the same journey, but we are solving these maths with different formula. That was why the friendship was very interesting. And that was me for the first time looking forward to have phone discussions. I never believed in long distance relationship. I started considering it. So we started talking as friends, and funny enough, because how interesting the communication went, we wanted to talk every day. And here I am that I've castigated people who make long calls. My friends, I normally tell them, if you're a man and you talk on the phone with a lady for over 1 hour, 30 minutes or 30 minutes, you don't have a job. You should go find yourself a job. But here I am, and every day we spoke on the phone for over 2 good hours, 3 hours. During work, we were on the phone. After work, we were on the phone. And believe you me, that's why I tell people, be intentional about the topics you discuss with your intending spouse. You see, the problem we have is that people don't think straight when they involve themselves in sexual discussions. Do you know
sexual what discussion?
It clouds their mind, it clouds their judgment of the person. Because now they are moved sexually, not mentally. Because you're only seeing the sexual attraction between you and this person. So you people wouldn't have important discussions or topics to discuss or future discussions to have. So, but as God may have it, we didn't even go to that area. We discussed more about life, business, spirituality. I'm someone that always asks God before I moved ahead. When I saw where this friendship was going to, I saw potential in our friendship, marriage potentials. So I had to ask God questions. I always ask God for directives before I make any step. I went into prayers and fasting. And as I prayed and as I fasted, the Lord gave me peace with her. Serious peace. But the Lord now told me something about her. The Lord said, she needs help. The Lord gave me a green light. He said, move ahead. When I said, God, I like the way she talks. I have not met her in person. I remember it took her forever for her to open her camera on my online platform. Even when she normally comes around and contributes, she leaves her camera closed. And even I had problem with my viewers, because like whenever I bring anybody up to the panel, they must open their camera. She's the first person that stayed on my panel and contributed with her camera closed. And people attack me for that. But I'm like, look at the wisdom that is coming from her. So people people let her be. People let it slide just because of our words of wisdom. Honestly, I tell people that with my journey and experience with God, I've seen that God looks way beyond container. We are so key about container. How it looks, the form it's coming from. No. Look about the inner energy. Is the inner energy from God? God can give you whatever you pray for in any form of container. The problem we have is that we have a stereotypical mindset of a container that our blessing will come with. It's time for you to have a husband. You see the prompting of the Holy Spirit in your heart. Or you're looking for a well-molded man with 6 packs, with 12 packs. You're looking for a delicious girl on Instagram with bed wings, eyelashes. We just have all these things in our head, how it should be. God said he's going to bless you financially. It's going to be through this my uncle, this. You're already giving, you're limiting God's hand. You are limiting him. But believe you me, go read your scriptures. It never came the way people thought it will. Joseph the dreamer. Oh, I dreamt. I saw myself as a star, and all my brothers, you guys were bowing before me and all that. They tried to sell him, but that was God working in mysterious ways. Where I'm going to is that God's blessings will never come in the package, in the human package you wanted it. So imagine me thinking of settling with someone as a wife, and I don't even know what she looks like.
You knew what I look like.
This is before you opened your camera and talking about.
No, not on video, but on.
I've seen pictures.
You've seen pictures. He'd seen pictures.
But I've not seen you. I've not seen your video. How would I know if you are the person in the pictures?
Yes, true.
So, but to cut the long story short on that area, she finally turned on her camera. And that day, I was astonished by her beauty. I'm being honest. I'm not here to exaggerate things or make it sound good or make it sound robotic or mechanical. I'm telling you the honest truth. I was astonished by her beauty that very day. She decided to turn on her camera. And I knew that God will never disappoint you. If you believe in faith, the rest will follow. Just like saying, seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and the rest will be added unto you. So when I prayed about her, and God gave me the green light to move ahead in my pursuit of her as a wife. But God told me she needs help. He said, this is the green light, go ahead. But she needs help. So that means that everything God gives to you comes with a responsibility. Like we normally say that great power comes with great responsibility. So if we think that God is a magician, he's not. Be ready to do the work. If he gives you something, there's a work to be done. That's why he said bride and groom. Groom. You groom the bride. I'll still dive into that, but just let us know that it goes both ways though. So, at a point, when I prayed that prayer, God told me that. He said, green light, go ahead. that means I found the rib of my rib. But he said there's work to be done. Which is the work? He said she needs help. So I'm going to help her. Then I remember in my closet after I prayed that prayer, I said, when God said help, I was skeptical about moving forward. Why? Because I said, God, why are you always sending me to help people? That's the question. I said, God, I've been praying lately that I need help myself. I need mental help. I need all kind of help. I've been the one helping you. You've been telling me, go help this person. Go tell you. You've been telling me things to tell people. Tell people what to tell me. That is me talking to God when he told me that she needs help. I'm like, but there's a question I did not ask. I never asked, how long will this help be? Or how quick? Or how simple? That's the mistakes we make. God's assignment is not your burden because he has bear our burdens. He has taken away our infirmity, our sicknesses. He has bear all those things. So I moved on because God gave me a green light. And that day I told her that this may be so sudden, but this is who I am, and this is the relationship I have with God. And in my heart, I've searched my heart. I have found peace with you. We've had discussions and
we sharpen each other.
Yes. And I found peace every time we talk. And I want this talk to be something that will never end. So I remember asking her, where are you at this point in time in your life about marriage? What's your concept about marriage? What's your narrative? What's your understanding? She told me, the next day I called her up and told her, I would love to marry you. And she laughed about it. She didn't say anything. We waved that discussion off. But at the end of that discussion that very day, I said, you are my wife. And she still laughed over it. And I remember the next day was when I now opened up and I told her that the Lord told me that I have to help you with something. And it has been troubling me that I wanted to run away like Jonah. But the fish swallowed Jonah, but the fish just swallowed me. I said, God. And I said, God, here I am. Tell me what you want me to help her with. Immediately I accepted that call of tell me what you want me to help her with. Do you know what the Lord did for me? The Lord told me, spoke to me. So moving with God is a journey. That's what we don't know. If you don't obey the first step, believe me, the second step wouldn't appear. Typical example is with Abraham, our father Abraham. When the Lord told him, sacrifice Isaac, God didn't tell him the next step. He just obeyed. I'm going to sacrifice Isaac. When he got to the altar to sacrifice Isaac, what happened? God gave him the second instruction. Do not touch him. Then the third appeared. The things for the sacrifice.
It's always step by step.
Step by step.
You have to practice acceptance of one step before God will open or show you the next step in the journey, because it's taking you along with him, and he's not gonna do anything that you are unwilling to do or you are not comfortable doing, right? So exactly. It's not gonna be against your will. You have to accept it, and then he will take you through.
Exactly. So when I accepted the call, I said, God, I'm going to help her with whatever you want me to help her with. Then the Lord said, it is not going to be hard or long, because I will do the work for you. I said, God, how? He said, it's going to be a miracle. The help you will confirm, and it's a hard thing for me to do as a human, but you will see how I will lift up that burden as a miracle. I said, wow, thank you, God. And immediately I told her that very day, God revealed everything about her life, her family to me. God said, this is the family you are going into. He is a step, it's always a step. He showed me everything. He said, this is this, and this is how you will do this. This is what's going to happen, and this is how it's going to happen, and he showed me everything. Everything that happened in the process of us getting married, I already knew. That she confirmed the prophecies of God. We prayed that very night, and God told me about her. God has not told her about me. So I just had to tell her everything about myself. This is who I am. I told her everything. See, marriage is not a place of secrecy. You can't say that two has become one. You are starting off with lies. I told her every single thing about me, about the family I'm coming from, about my life, about my finances, everything about me. My personality, my spirituality, temperament, which I know I don't have. I told her everything about me. And I asked her a question. Go and think deeply if this is surely what you want. Because we already know where our friendship was going to. So we didn't want it to get too far that we we become friends that we can't date each other anymore. Or we become friends that it's now it will sound weird for me to tell her, I think I have feelings for you. Or our feelings will even die off. And we'll now remain we'll be stuck in the friend zone. Opportunity comes but once. Though you can still have the opportunity again, but when will it be? So where I'm driving at is always act fast. Yes. Move slow, but act fast. And as the Spirit leads. When God gives you an instruction, that's why He says that obedience is better than sacrifice. Some of us we are stuck. We are stuck in the mindset of it must be done this way. It should be done this way. God, why is it not that way? Is it not that way? I've always known it to be done this way. Why shouldn't it be done that way? We are stuck in this ideology of how we should be. That is why people who knew the scriptures were the ones that still crucified Jesus. Because they never knew He would come in that form. So what I'm saying is when it comes to godliness and life in general, open your mind. I found interest in my wife because she's an open-minded person. And I've always been an open-minded person. If you're not an open-minded person, I don't think you can hear from the Lord. Because you will always question His voice. And say, this cannot be God. The Christians of nowadays would have questioned God if they were Abraham. They would have questioned God. If they were Joseph, they would have questioned God. Anyways, I would continue, but I will let my wife tell her own story up to this level. Then I will tell the remaining part of the story as she concludes with her own remaining part of the story as well. So, sweetheart, it's your turn.
Alright, so from my perspective, if you do follow my channel, my individual channel with Love Ife, I said a little bit about that there. From my perspective, I was going through a lot of things during the time that we met. I had just come back from Nigeria. I had been going through a period of like a downtime, I would call it. And I was just struggling with a lot of things. But at this point when we met, so because of the way that the previous journey had gone, in terms of me thinking it was a different man, and then coming back to Canada to process that whole emotions of everything that had happened, I will put a link below of my channel as well, my individual channel as well, so you can go there and kind of see the journey and everything, because I explained it a little bit more on that channel. So I was at this point where I was just recuperating and recharging my energy and telling God, you know what, God, I need you to come through for me. I need help. I need you to tell me, if it's not that man I thought it was, then who is this next man, right? And if it's somebody else, then you need to tell me. And I gave God a deadline of when I felt He needed to come through for me. It was like, I think the deadline was somewhere like end of August, September-ish, around that period. And I just told God, if not, I'm just gonna start dating again and start living my life. So that's where it was at for me. So I decided to keep traveling. I decided to just be working and just, you know, making money and just showing up for myself in my career. I decided to just live my life, you know. But I asked God for help, and I was just like, God, you just do what you do, and I'm just gonna live my life as well as I can live my life, with you still in it, but like knowing that there's still all these things that I asked for, right? And I gave God a deadline of when I wanted this to happen. When we started talking, it was just the weirdest thing, but I was in a place mentally where I was like at peace, and I was just, you know, doing my thing and living my life. I didn't have any burdens of, oh, this has happened before and I'm trying to relieve myself from the emotional distress that the last one caused me and blah blah blah. I was just really just at peace and just like vibing. And then we met. As you've heard his side of the story. So my side of the story actually was my sister. She had come to visit with the kids, and she stayed over for a few months. And so she just ran into my room and she's like, I need you to come help someone. And I'm here thinking, okay, because she, you know, every once in a while she like just does random things like these, and you know, it's just a normal thing that she does. So I was just like, okay, who's this person? And how can I help this person? And she's just like, yeah, just come through and just come on this show and, you know, see, you know, help him out with something. But I didn't really pay too much attention with her saying she needs me to help. So I just kind of was like, okay, cool, I'll come on the show. And I did. And I didn't come on it like trying to help. I just came on it to just see what was going on there at that time, right? So I was like, okay, let me do this. So when I came on the show, I see this beautiful man on my screen, and I'm like, he is fine, right? So literally, I'm just like, again, I'm telling you, I was just vibing and, you know, living my best life at this time. So I was just like, huh, he is fine. So I go into the comment section and I'm like, you are fine. You're so handsome, you know? And then he was like, oh, thank you. And then he keeps going. So the whole time in the comment section, I was just like, yeah, you're so like, wow, God really took his time, you know? God took his time. And then he said, oh, thank you. And then he would smile. And at some point, I thought he was shy. But he would tell you he wasn't shy, but I just thought he was shy. So that's how it was going. And then eventually he talks about his sister that just relocated to Canada. And, you know, I used to live in a city where she relocated to. So I was just like, okay, I can help you out with whatever it is you need. And then we did that whole connection. She came on the show as well. And we kind of just talked in between ourselves for a little bit. He went to the other platform and then he sent me a message. Hey, how are you? And I'm like, I'm good. He's like, can we be friends? I feel like we can really like learn from each other and get to know each other more. And I'm just like, yeah, no problem, you know? But this is after I've already agreed to help out with his sister. So then at some point we're still chatting, and then eventually I gave him a temporary number, that one that, you know, he talked about. And we were messaging each other back and forth on that number for a bit. And then I think at some point he said, you know, I think I like you. He said that on the temporary number. And then he's like, I think I like you and I want us to talk a little bit more, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, huh, that's nice and very specific that you said you liked me. And I kind of really like the fact that he was just very like upfront about what he wanted. After we talked for a little bit more and I was able to kind of get a good understanding of who he was. And then he told me about the number stuff, that, you know, it doesn't really get the messages, like it takes time for the messages to send, right? So I was like, fine, I'll give you my international number, and that's my main number. So I ended up giving him that number, and then we're talking more on that number. And soon after, we got on video call, and we talked more on video call. So we spent a lot of time actually talking on video call, and that was a lot better, I think, for the beginning stages of our relationship, because it was a long distance relationship at that point. But more so, it wasn't really like a relationship that we said this is a relationship right now. We understood that like we were finding more information about each other, like a courting type situation. And he was very specific about what he wanted. He wasn't trying to be like slick, he was bold about the way he approached the situation. So it's like, I really do think I like you. And, but I think that was after we did the show together. Yeah, that was after we did the show together. He saw my face, you heard his perspective, what he wanted, and he kept calling me wife after a while. When I guess that's when he eventually talked to God and asked God for, who I am and all the questions that he had in his heart to ask God. So when he got more confirmation, he started calling me his wife. And at first, I kind of laughed it off. I was like, I thought he was joking. And then he just kept doing it. So I was just like, okay, I mean, I could get used to this, And at some point during that process, I talked to God myself too, because, I have a relationship with God too. And I asked God, I'm like, God, like, okay, I know I prayed this prayer and I gave you this timeline, and now it's pretty much on the timeline, where, within that timeline. And now this man is showing up here in my life, and I'm like, okay, who is he, and what's going on? So, but prior to all of these things, I don't know, but if you followed my channel with Love Ife, again, I keep referring to that because there's a lot of information on there as well. I talked about a woman that I had met about 3 years ago. She was a prophet, and I had met her randomly at an airport in London, and we were talking, and so much happened, and then eventually we got to know each other a little bit more. And she then tells me that God has heard my prayers, and this is my marriage season, and he has sent someone for me, and blah blah blah. So me and that woman kept in touch over time, and at some point during our conversation, she calls me up and she's like, who's Okechukwu? And I'm just like, I know one person that's Okechukwu, but we're not really like close, like friends like that. And then she's like, no worries. And she goes back, and then she comes back again, and she's like, yeah, so God told me that, because she went around asking what Okechukwu means, because different languages, different tribes. So she came back and said, Okechukwu means God's portion for you, or God's gift to you. So I was just like, oh, okay. I didn't really like have more information, like, because she was very specific with the information she was giving me. She had a prophetic gift, but she believed also in timing. So there's some information she would give me half of it, and I was very particular about not pushing her for more information, because obviously it's a privilege already having someone with that much of a gift, in your space, right? And so she says that, and then I was like, okay, no problem. I'll just go about my life. So fast forward to now, I see this man, and my sister rushed me over to help this man out with his sister and all of that, and his name is Okechukwu. So at first I get that light bulb moment, like, Okechukwu. And usually when something happens to me in the present that reminds me of something, in the past, or reminds me of a dream or a vision, or reminds me of something that's not, in my immediate situation, then usually it's connected. And that's another way God speaks to me, right? So when I saw his name, I was just like, okay, could this be? Nah. And then we started talking, and then I saw that he was pretty much everything that I wanted in a man. He's kind, he's patient, he's loving, he cares about family. You know, the reason why we met in the first place was because he was trying to find help for his sister. You know, so he cares about family. He's a good man. You know, he's well spoken. He's all of these things. And then, you know, throughout my journey as well on my channel with Love Ife, I was also talking about how God spoke to me. The guy that I thought it was previously was in the public eye. So that was also another way God was using to speak to me and to prepare me and tell me that this man will also be in the public eye, right? So he was all of these things, and then I was just kind of like sitting there, like it was like pieces of a puzzle that I was putting together, trying to evaluate this man and, you know, what he said, what he did, and all of that. And he really just, a lot of the things that we talked about was us like really confirming things to each other and like showing different perspectives of life to each other. It was like we're really just like sharpening our minds, sharpening our spirituality. You know, we aligned in so many different ways, and really like I really deeply appreciated that, you know. So for me, I had never met a man that I would align with, like talking about spirituality and talking about physicality and talking about mentality and talking about all of these things, and we're aligning in every way, right? So I'm just like, okay. The more we talked, the more I was getting convinced. So I went back to God and I was like, God, like, who is this man? Like, and then God's like, don't worry, like, watch for yourself who he is and just take notes, right? And this is not the first time God has done that. Like, since I started my journey with the different guys that have come in and out of my life, God has always said, watch who he is. And, you know, even in the Bible, it said, by their fruits we shall know them. So God was basically telling me to watch what his fruits were bringing, you know, to the table. And so that's how I kind of maneuvered and kind of understood that this man wasn't for me, this man wasn't for me. So now I get to this new man, and God's like, watch, you know, what he does, watch what he says, you know, watch how he thinks. And so that's what I was doing. But then he was out here calling me his wife. And I was just like, okay. And I don't know if you remember, but I didn't used to believe in marriage, right? And then in my channel, I talked about how God led me through a process of starting to understand why marriage is important and starting to believe that marriage is good and it's from God, and, you know, the institution is a good thing. And so now I'm in a space where I believe in marriage, but, you know, I'm still a little bit like hesitant, you know, because it's deep for me and it's scary still. It still feels scary, or it felt scary at the time, you know. So God was like, don't worry, just watch him and just learn more about him and just know him. And because I am a curious person and God deals with people based off of their personalities, and he values that I am who I am, so he gives me information based on who I am and how I would react to it. So he's just like, watch and learn and open your mind and blah, blah, blah. And I was doing that. And he was calling me his wife. And then all of a sudden I realized that I wasn't really scared anymore. I started to kind of welcome the idea of like being a wife. And I was like, this is strange, you know, because normally it would like freak me out. But at this point, I'm like transitioning into like really just being a wife, you know. So it was like kind of a preparation for me as well. I don't really know if that's why he did it. I don't know what the background story was there, but it really just helped me get settled in with the idea of like being a wife. We kept talking about the husband-wife thing, and then he started to tell me that he loves me. And so I was just like, okay, you know, but I never would say it back because, again, I'm hesitant. I've been through this before. I've done the whole long distance thing. It's not something that I love to do. It's not something I really truly believed in, but in the past, it has not worked out, even when it's not something I wanted fully. But now we're here and we're doing this again, so I'm just like scared, and there's just so many things going on in my mind. That's the question we should be asking.
I'm like, from what you said, so I'm like, tell me the man that tells a girl that he wants to propose.
That's right, actually, because nobody, like, people would just do it, you know. But you know what, though? I love that he did that, because at the same time, I would also say that I value that too, because I wanted a man that we would talk about all of these things before we get into marriage, so it doesn't seem like a surprise. You know, like it seems like it's something we've already prepared for. At this point, I'm planning another trip again to Nigeria, right? And so I tell him I'm coming to Nigeria, you know, after like lots of conversation. He was really excited about it. He's like, yay, you know, and he was really looking forward to it. So we started talking more and more about my trip to Nigeria. And that trip was like always planned. It was always a thing. I come to Nigeria during this time of the year, you know, that's normal. But now I had a great reason to come back to Nigeria, right? So he was really excited. I was excited too. And then he asked me a question. He said, if I propose to you, would you say yes? And I would also say that I value that too, because I wanted a man that we would talk about all of these things before we get into marriage, so it doesn't seem like a surprise. All this time as well, I was still talking to God about him, but God said, don't worry, go to Nigeria. When you go to Nigeria, you will see for yourself. That's what God told me. And usually the way my spirituality works is that like I really have to be in the presence of someone to really discern who they are, or to like have like some kind of conversation with them. But like if I want like further confirmation, I have to be in your presence to really just discern you based on your body language, based on the Holy Spirit, based on everything, and get confirmation. And that's usually like the last step of like every relationship, right? And you know, so God was like, go to Nigeria and you will see for yourself. Now, the last time this happened again with that other person, I was just like, but this time I had more peace within myself, right? Because I was like, this is a man that I am now in communication with. I feel at peace with everything else. So if this is the last step that I needed to do to be 100% certain about this man and what he has to offer and what I have to offer him, and whether or not he was going to be my husband, then I was going to do it. You remember I asked God for help? I said I need help with understanding or getting some clarity about who this person I'm supposed to be with is, because if it's not this man that I thought it was, then it has to be somebody else. But whoever it is, help me, and help me with getting over this whole emotional distress that this whole situation has caused me, because it felt like a burden. It felt like a lot of things. I need some answers. I need clarity. I need something, you know, so I need help, and I need you to send this help in a human form, because I don't know anymore. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, you know. And that's when I prayed that prayer and I left it for God, and I was just like, I'm gonna live my life. And I meet this man, and he comes to me, and at some point in our conversation, he said, God says you need help with something, and I need to help you with something. So for me, like, that was confirmation enough already. The fact that it was his name, Okechukwu, the fact that he came through and he had all these qualities that I was looking for in a husband, the fact that he came through and he said, God sent me to help you with something. That's why I say sometimes make your prayers really specific, because God is listening. He's hearing you. So make it as specific as you can. Ask for help. If you're asking for help, tell him this is what I want the help to look like, or tell him, just make it specific enough so when you actually see what God sends you, you recognize it and you can confirm it with his word as well.
Just like I said earlier, that God works in mysterious ways. You know, his ways are far different from ours. And I remember after we had that phone call and we prayed together, and God, that was when she specifically confirmed that indeed she needed help, And God made it known to me on the area she needed the help in. Because honestly, she has been having this repeated dream of seeing a man. She saw the man's face, heard the man's name, and she kept on saying that God told her that this is your husband. And this is something she never shared with me, but God told me that she's in this level of mindset that she needs help to step out of this mindset. And believe you me, this is a mindset that will take series of therapy with a very professional, high recommended therapist to pull someone off from this. And that was why I wanted to back out from the journey. Because I'm like, God, are you sure this is not a mindset I'm going to deal with for the rest of my life? This is someone you said that she has been having dreams and seeing a particular man's face, and she has even established communication with this very person, and she has been receiving words that that's her husband. And now here I am. How would I convince her that is not that man? Because the Lord said I have to pull her out from that mindset first before our own journey will continue. And that was the green light he gave me for us. And the needing help is being able to pull her out from that mindset and make her unsee what she has seen. And because she has a gift of interpreting dreams, she does that well. Believe me, she did it a couple of times on my online platform. That's Dr. Love. And I was like, wow. I'm someone that God speaks to. And having God walk through her with the gift of interpreting dreams like Joseph, I'm like, we are two formidable forces that cannot be stopped. So now I understand that God really answers prayers, because she possessed all the qualities I've ever prayed for in a wife. It made me understand why she came to my platform. And the first day she came to my online platform, we were talking about dreams and dreams being manipulated. And God said she needs help with a repeated dream she has had over the years of a particular man being her husband, which she has even reached out to the man and they've seen in person. But just that the qualities she wanted in a husband, this man did not possess those qualities.
By their fruits you shall know them.
And she was in this state of confusion. Lord, she had to travel all the way from Canada to Nigeria to meet this man, because she has repeatedly seen this man in her dreams. She booked the flights. I want you to understand the gravity of what she did. That was the step of faith. All the way from Canada to Nigeria to meet this man she has always seen in her dreams, only for her to meet the man, and the man does not possess any quality of a husband that she has desired. And that got her messed up emotionally, mentally, and believing in God and in marriage as a whole. And that's where she prayed a prayer and said, God, she needs help.
It's kind of emotional.
Imagine that level of faith. And she did what a normal human being would have done. I said that God, having a relationship with God is a journey. He tells you the first one, he wouldn't tell you the second step. So when you take the first step, the next step appears. That's the way it works. And this is exactly what she did. She saw a dream. She has a gift of interpreting dreams. She interpreted the dreams, and boom. The next step was to come to Nigeria to meet this man, because this man exists. She searched for the man online, saw the man, came, reached out to him online. They had some few discussions. She came to Nigeria, met him, but the qualities were not there. She was stuck on this crossroad, and she does not believe that dreams can be manipulated. Our next video is how we prepared ourselves individually before we met. And that happened that last year, we met 2022, and in 2020, was when God revealed to me that our dreams can be manipulated. You see, 2020, and I opened that platform 2022. And then we're having a discussion about dream of a revelation I caught 2020. in 2022. And then my wife was among the audience that was listening to what I was saying. And she came up in the panel and disagreed with me. So we disagreed to agree. So this is a union that started with disagreements. But the disagreement was still on, we were on the same track, that God speaks to us through dream. But I was saying that sometimes it can be manipulated, but she disagreed and said it cannot be manipulated. But now it came back to me helping her with that. So my concern was, is this what I'm going to deal with for the rest of my life? Which is a valid concern, because I didn't want someone to be seeing me as someone else.
It definitely would have been a huge burden
Exactly.
on our marriage, to start off a marriage when you think God is leading you to someone else. Because like I said in my channel as well, like during that time where I felt God was leading me to someone else, someone from the past also came back into my life as well, and I reconnected with this man as well. And so that was the situation. It was like this man was also like, I think it's me and it's not this other man. And I'm like, nah, I don't think it's you, it's this other man. You know what I mean? So it was like a back and forth. And I knew for sure it was not the guy that I reconnected with. And I wasn't sure if it was the other man that I saw in my dreams. So I didn't want a burden of that on myself too, right? That's why I asked God, I need help, right? Because I knew the gravity of this. If it eventually is not this man, I don't want whoever it actually is to be burdened by me saying, oh, I think it's this man. I don't want a situation where it's like, what if it's this, or what if this happens? You know what I mean? So it was a huge burden. Like, I just want to show you guys the gravity of the situation. It was a huge burden on me, and I didn't want it to be a huge burden on a marriage or my marriage when it finally happens, right?
And see how God works. That's why testimonies are very, very vital. God didn't reveal the full story to me till I told her that God said you need help, and He sent me to help you. And she admitted. And immediately she admitted, without her telling me the areas, I told her that this and this and this and that. And that took us back to that dream discussion. Now, see how God works. I didn't have to go extra mile trying to explain to her how dreams and how that dream does not work. I just went back to tell her the encounter I had with Dream 2020. Now, as an actor, that period of time in 2020 came out of a movie set, and I normally jump into the next movie set in the interval of a week. And 2 weeks gone, 3 weeks gone, no call, and I was concerned. So I went into fasting and prayer. And in that fasting and prayer, God told me that I'm going to get a call when I'm done with the fasts. So I should not bother about call or session for any other new acting roles till I'm done with the fasts. So I fasted for 5 days. So after the fast, on the 7th day, I got a call from a client that said this movie is actually on Netflix, to tell you how big the movie was. So I got a call from this client, and they're like, we casted you for this role, that role, like you to come in for the audition and all that, a closed audition. I said, okay, no problem. I went for it, and later I got a message from them, congratulations, you were selected and all that. Now this is where how the devil tried to play me with the dreams. And that was when God revealed to me that dreams can be manipulated, because I'm someone that held dreaming on a very high esteem. And the simple truth is that whatever you hold higher than God, that is what the devil will use to tempt you. Jesus himself was tempted after fasting and prayer. After fasting and prayer, not before, after, to tell you that you can be tempted anyhow and anywhere, and take heed lest he fall. He that stands to take heed unless he falls. So there is no level that you get to in life or in spirituality that you think you are above temptation and all that. So what happened was, after I got the role, the script was sent to me and everything, and I was told to meet them at a particular place, that a vehicle will convey me from there to the location, to my place of, to the location, which was where I'm lodging as well. But I was not okay with that arrangement, because I'm like, why not just give me the address of the location? Why should I have to meet you guys at a place and the vehicle will convey me from there? It wasn't making sense. So I was like, are they trying to kidnap me or what? I was a little bit concerned, like. So I called the agency. I was like, please, I don't want to meet you guys somewhere and to be conveyed from there to the set. Can you give me the location to the set? I want to drive there by myself. They said no, they don't want to disclose the location. So I was like, okay, no problem. So I was cool with it. I got my things ready because I was leaving the next day for the location they gave me where they would convey me to the place. So I got my things ready, did everything. I said my prayers, thanked God who answered my prayers after the fasting and prayer, and I slept. And then I was in this dream, and I was dressed up like I was going for a friend's white wedding. And we got into this car. They provided a vehicle to take us to the place, to the location, and we got to the vehicle. And next thing, the vehicle was driving through this thick forest. And next thing, they took us somewhere that we saw a lot of locals, like they were with leaves, they were dressed in leaves and all that, and they were with machete. They started, macheting everybody in the car. I was the only survivor, and I was like, what's happening here? So they said, they all stood and was approaching me because I was at the back of the car. The car was this coaster, the luxurious coaster. So I was at the extreme. So they were all like gently walking towards where I was. It was like a horror movie. So I started speaking in tongues in my heart, in the dream. But they were hearing what I was saying. As I was speaking in tongues, I was communicating with them. And you know how dream works. And what I said to them was, you guys should lead the way, but I will tell you where to go. And they were foolish enough to like, how can I lead you guys from behind? And they all turned. I said, keep moving. I will lead you. And when they came down from the car, I said, what if I start running now, they might turn and pursue me. I said, let me take the chances. If I don't run, how would I know if they will find out? So I said, keep going. I will show you the way. As they were going, I turned back and I ran for my life. I came out where they were, where I came out from the bush. I came to the road and I flagged down the car, and that was it. And I woke up and it was a dream. And here I am to go take my bath and go to a location where they will convey me to the set. What was that telling you? God always speaks to me through dreams. Then I was in a state of confusion like my wife was with the dreams and everything. I was like, I prayed for this. God answered the prayer. So why this? Why would it be a trap? And then another thought was, camouflage will always come before the original thing. We normally say this. And then I was on my bed, cracking my brain, and God said, why have you not consulted me in this? And how do I consult with God? Prayers. I went on my knees. Okay, no, I didn't even go. I was on the bed. I sat down in that position and I prayed. And when I was done with that prayer, God said something. He just said a word to me. The devil will always tempt you with what you value the most. The devil will always tempt you with what you value the most. The devil will always tempt you. If you don't love money, they won't tempt you with money. But just know that that thing that you have high respect for is what they will tempt you with. That's why even the devil can tempt a lot of us with the Bible, like he did with Jesus, and we'll fall for it and say, it is written. He can tempt us with a lot of things. Tradition, societal values, and the rest. I can keep naming. But when God said that to me, I stood up, had my bath, dressed up, I went to the location, and believe you me, as of that year, 2020, that was one of the productions I was highly paid. I was highly paid. And that production lasted for over 2 weeks. And I was well paid. And that was the day God took that veil from my eyes that all dreams, the significance of dreams, not all dreams is God talking to you, and not all dreams is a trance, not all dreams is a vision. Some dreams could be from daily stress, what you saw last before you slept, what you thought about last, the devil trying to play a movie for you. Dreams sometimes could just be movie, like you're in the cinema and they're playing something for you. You want, like the devil played for Jesus, said, turn this to this. Do you think Jesus wasn't seeing a visible picture of all those things the devil was telling him? Jump down here and I'll give you the whole wide world. So after telling my wife this story, I knew, because I felt the burden left her. And like God promised that He's going to make it quick and easy. It was a miracle.
Is that an instant?
Instant. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're blessed in the Lord. Instant healing. That was what God told me, that He's going to give her instant healing. And that very night, she received that instant healing. And then we prayed. And that was how she was totally delivered from that dream manipulation. God gave her instant healing. Because if she didn't receive that testimony, prayer wouldn't have solved the matter. She needed to listen. The miracle was that testimony. And that was the help God said she needed. Can you imagine how quick the help was? We spoke at length for 3 good months, every day for 3 good months, before she came down to Nigeria. And that brings us to the concept of marriage. I've always told God that, help me, Lord, give me the perfect life partner. And I promise you, Lord, I will do everything work in my aspects to make this marriage perfect. Be the third man in my marriage. I kept on praying that prayer. There's one thing God told me. Some of us think that marriage starts from ceremonies, wedding ceremonies, traditional weddings and the rest. Those things are valid, but they are mere celebration. They are called, it's like birthday. Those are not the thing that made the child to be born. Child is already born. They are calling people to come and celebrate the birth of the child. The same thing with marriage. That was when God revealed to me that any day you ask your wife, will you be my wife? And she says yes. That is when marriage starts. That is when commitment starts. Marriage is commitment. It's not a title. It's a responsibility that must be met. Spiritual, mentally, financially, and every other aspect of life. Your partner should be your best friend. Your partner should be your mother outside mother, your father outside father, your brother outside brother, your sister outside sister. Your soul, you know what a soulmate is? Your you. You confide in your partner. So the Lord told me that. He said, any day you ask your wife if she would marry you and she says yes, if she agrees, because 2 cannot work together except they agree. It did not say 2 cannot work together except the community agree. But it's vital the community is with you people. But that the agreement is not what determines your union. So when the Lord told me this, I started asking her every day by day. That was the day I started calling her my wife. My wife. And then when she told me of her plans to come to Nigeria, I asked her a question. I said, I have plans to propose to you. If I propose to you, what would you say? The first day I asked her, she said, she didn't answer, but she smiled over it. And I asked the second day. I think it was on the second or the third day she said she would say yes. I said, okay. I knew she came back during this on December 5th, as of last year. And my birthday was December 21st. And I planned on proposing to her on my birthday, because I planned on celebrating my birthday huge. I planned on having a very huge celebration, birthday celebration. So I was like, oh, that's when my friends are around, everybody's around, I'm going to propose to her. That was my plan. That was the plan I had. But when she came back to Nigeria, and everything I saw on camera, every voice I heard over the phone, her physical presence superseded every of it. And like they said, if God is involved, you have your peace. you have your joy. They didn't say the joy of the world or the peace of the world. The world might be in chaos, but you yourself, because even when others say there's a casting down for you, there's an uplifting. I had my peace, and that was the moment I didn't care about what the world was saying, because I heard God and I had my peace. When you hear God and you don't have your peace, you can question it, because you'll be unrest. You will have unrest. But I heard God and I met her in person and I had my peace. Then I was waiting for 21st of December. And I remember on the fateful morning, on the 7th of December 2022, I was asleep on the 6th. And in the morning of the 7th, the Lord woke me up from a deep sleep and said, take your wife to church, and in the presence of my people, ask her hand in marriage. That was what the Lord said to me specifically. And I got up from that deep sleep. I had unrest. I said, I've overgrown to question God when He speaks crystal clear. In the earlies of the morning, I stood up that day, went to the mall, and I bought the ring. And I got back home. I didn't let her know. I told her that was on a Wednesday. I won't forget. And I said, dress up. We're going for Wednesday service. We're going to church for Wednesday service. I'm like, okay. I remember she was testing clothes. Oh, what should I wear? Should I wear this? I said, just wear anything you want to wear. Clothes is not the problem. She dressed up, we went to church. God told me something to confirm God's word. He said, I said, God, I've not seen people propose in church during church service. What would they think of me? Wouldn't it obstruct the service? How would they perceive this? God told me that the church media will carry the news. That was what God told me. He said the church media will carry the news. And I said, oh, for the church media to carry this, I have to sit in front of church. Everybody will see it when it happens. God did not say anything again. That was when I had my peace. I just dressed up, told her dress. We went to church. We sat in the middle row. So, and every word that the preacher preached that day was about me. And everything my wife had told me before we came to church. And she turned, I remember her turning to me and she said, I told you. Didn't I tell you this? See, this is a confirmation of everything I told you. The man spoke to me. That service that day was for me. I thought it was all about the proposal. I didn't know that God was building me for the marriage. So that gave me peace and convinced me that this can only be God. And I remember when the service was about to close and I called one of the ushers and gave him my phone and said, I want to propose to my girl. So when I'm doing it, just have a record of it and all that. He was like, okay, cool. And when they had the benediction, I went on my knees and I said, there is no other place I could do this but in the presence of God's people. I love you and I want you to be my wife. Will you marry me? And she said yes. And I wore her that ring. I showed him pain. And I wore her that ring and marriage started for us. The journey started for us because two is now in agreement. That was where the journey and the responsibility of husband, father started for me, and for her wife and mother started for her. We started the journey that very day.
So I think with the story that my husband has told us, I think the main thing there for me was, as long as we agreed, right? That was where the marriage started. And that's also something that God confirmed to us as well. Because a lot of times we look at it and we're like, oh, will my family accept? Will this accept? Would that person accept? But the truth is, would you accept? And once you accept, then it doesn't really matter 100% what the rest of the family or what the rest of the people around you would say or would do, whether or not they would accept this person. Because you are marrying one person, you are not marrying a family, right? It's both of you that are marrying to start, like you're getting together to start a family of your own. You're not marrying a family that's already existing. Now, it's really nice and it's really lovely if everybody comes together and they decide that, you know what, we like this person, and they just make your transition easier for you to, you know, to extend the family. But truthfully speaking, you are starting your own family. So everybody else coming inside of it, brother, sister, uncle, auntie, mother, father, they're all now going to be your extended family. And that, I think, is one of the main things that I learned when God told us that if we both agree together, then that is the true marriage. So now when God told my husband to go into the church and to propose in front of his people, that was to get witnesses. That's God's way of saying we need witnesses, you know, because now this is a marriage. To God, for us, it's a marriage because there's witnesses around us. But the truth of the matter is, I actually came into agreement with my husband before that church service, right? And so between us and God, it was already a marriage. But then God said, come into church and have witnesses, you know, because that's also important to God. I think the advice here would be like, listen to God. Whatever He tells you, do it. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what everybody else says. Whatever God tells you, do it, because your walk is with you and God. When you get to heaven, God is not going to be like, oh, this person made you do this or that person made you do this. It's between you and God. So listen to God. I cannot judge you. If somebody comes to me and tells me God told me to do this or that, I will not judge you based off of that, because I'd be like, fine, that's your relationship with God. You know what your relationship with God is. As long as it's God in heaven telling you this is what you should do, please listen to God. And that's why it's very, very important to know how God speaks to you specifically, so that you will always hear God's voice and it will never be manipulated for you, right? So that's a big takeaway for me.
So marriage is more of building a new family or starting a new family than expanding an already existing family. So we should know where the focus of our attention is in for a long-lasting marriage. So our next video, we'll be talking more about meeting the parents, how I met her parents and how she met my parents. And we'll be talking more about how we worked on our individual selves to even make it possible for these meets to happen.
I hope that everyone here learns from our journey. That's the purpose of us sharing with the rest of the world, so that it helps everybody that's watching. And remember that if you are here and if you are watching this video is supposed to be for you. So we just want to say thank you for coming into our channel, for listening to us speak.
Thanks for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification button. Stay tuned to OKEY'S
and OKEY'S
Love Channel.